I am just overjoyed to welcome our first guest. And I am not going to say the name properly because my Spanish sucks, but Irene Garzone, welcome. Maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. She is tuning in today from UK, but she's originally a Spanish midwife. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you very much, Agustin. Irene, that's how you pronounce my name in Spanish.
Irene,
yeah. But I tend to answer to anything because I understand it's difficult. So anything I know more or less that sounds like my name, that's okay. That's fine. I'm delighted. I was thinking, I don't want to talk now. I just want to listen to the others. It's just like, I hope my time goes really quickly so I can keep listening to all the speakers you've put together. So it's really, really nice. I'm really honored to be here. So yes, I'm from Spain. I wanted to be a midwife since I was 12. I saw a cesarean section then. My dad was an obstetrician. It was a time when they put women under general anesthetic, and she was already asleep when I went in. I'm not saying how good this was, but this is what happened. And then the midwife took the baby away, and I was just like, wow, who is that? I want to do what that woman's doing. And so I started nursing because that's the only way you can become a midwife in Spain. You have to be a nurse first, and then you specialize as a midwife after. And after I was a nurse, I came to the UK to work as a nurse, and ended up studying midwifery here in the UK. I loved it from beginning to end, but I could see that I was very different from most of them. I could see that everyone, the UK is one of the countries where midwifery is stronger and we have got more autonomy and more independence, but I could see it still, there wasn't that much of it. So I could see that people in general are scared of birth. And I remember once I was like a junior student and somebody rang the bell and I went inside and it was a senior student. And she was, the lady she was with, she was delivering, the head was crowning, she was standing up and she was so nervous because there was no midwife, not anyone there. And she said, do something, get someone. And I just went in and stayed by her side, just helping her and telling her, don't worry, it's okay, you've got this. Somebody will come, but if they don't, it's better that you're with someone else than on your own. And I trained in Birmingham, which is a very international place. So I learned so much from so many different cultures, but I learned overall about respect and making your voice be heard. People listened to what I had to say. So then after a while, after working in the UK, I went back to Spain, and that was just, well, not a shock because that's my country and I knew how things were, but it's in the way, as you were saying, that women are very, midwives are like under the doctor's rules. They are the ones who say what needs doing, and the midwives are like nurses that work for them. So the law in Spain, we are defined as autonomous practitioners. However, the vast majority of midwives do have a really hard time when they actually want to practice autonomously. Because it's been like this, and I'm sure that in many countries it's very similar, it's been like this for a long time. It's been the doctor is the boss and he's the one who says women, or she, it seems that there is, I mean, I don't know about you, but whenever I've traveled and I talk about midwifery, there's a very common question that is, but you mean there's no doctor there? And it's like, exactly, there's no doctor there. I'm the expert of normality. I'm the expert of physiology. But that's really difficult to understand. I guess obviously once you have the power, it's very difficult to give it away. And so when I went back to Spain, every day was a battle, because obviously I just couldn't understand how everything was so standardized. It was like a conveyor belt for birth. Is this what women said or asked for? It was just, no, we don't do that here. No, you just have to comply with what we've got. And home birth was not, well, I was going to say not legal. It was, there was so many little home births that they didn't really take a lot of care about this. And when I worked there for 3 years in 2 different hospitals, one was a huge university hospital, and then I went to another one that was a small unit where things were much easier. And well, then when I met my husband and I moved to another place, I knew that was it. I was not going to be able to work in a hospital, in Spanish hospital again. And that's when I went independently. I was an independent midwife for about 6 years. Women in Spain have to pay for a midwife if they want to have a home birth, but they don't have to pay if they have the baby at the hospital. Those have been the best years of my life, of my professional life, because I said yes to everyone. And meaning, usually women who wanted to have a home birth, it was because either they had had a horrible experience before, or because what they wanted couldn't happen. Like they had had a previous cesarean section and they were telling them another section, it was the option, or a breech baby, or anything, that it was just like, no, you come to the hospital and we do what we want. You don't have a say on this. So while I was an independent midwife, I accompanied a lot of women who were over 42 weeks, a breech delivery, women who had had no antenatal care because they chose to do it this way. Obviously they had looked after themselves, but they were say them women who had previous cesarean sections. And then I gave birth. I have 2 daughters. I gave birth to them without any assistance, and that was just wonderful. After that, we went to Bangladesh, and we were traveling, and I got a job in Bangladesh to help them develop the midwifery career. And I learned so much from them, and I still have a lot of contact with these Bangladeshi midwives, just to help them get into global midwifery, and to understand that it's not just what happens in their country, but how there is this huge network of midwives, how we can support each other, how we can be together. And after Bangladesh, I was there 1.5 years. I came back to the UK. I started working in a hospital because I had to. I had been 11 years outside of the UK, and it was just, if you want a job, this is what you have to do. And it was in labor ward, which for me was just like, after being an independent midwife, after being in Bangladesh, just going back to labor ward where everything again is very standardized, and these are the protocols and this is how we do things. It was a little bit hard. But then I moved into a birth center, and then I went to university. I've been teaching for the last 3 years. At the moment, I'm only working part-time there, and I'm developing training for midwives worldwide, but trying that the midwives in the developed countries who have more access and more resources help, like in a symbiotic way, to pay for the training of the midwives in developing countries. And it's I think it's necessary. It's like some of you, not all of you, but now on Facebook, that people are being very active, and I ask questions like, what would you say to a woman who is over 42 weeks? And it is mainly for these midwives who don't have that much contact with the outside world to see what the others are answering, see how midwifery is connecting all of us together. I think it's really important. This is something I always tell my students, and I tell everyone. Midwives are the experts in normality, in physiological birth. And don't forget that, no matter who you are discussing this with, because usually we become very little when an authority, someone who, even if we are working independently, and then we have to transfer a woman to the hospital because of whatever the reason, we tend to feel very, very little, and we're afraid of the other person having more power, more authority. And as I said, we are the experts, not others. What I usually say is like, women are the only people who go to a doctor when nothing is wrong with them. And if you are with a friend and they said, oh, I'm going to the dermatologist, or I'm going to the ophthalmologist, the question will be, oh, what's happening? Are you okay? Is there a problem? But we have got this very clear, I'm going to the gynecologist. Oh, that's normal. That's something that you do. And it's not normal, because doctors, medical doctors, should be there for when things are not happening, are not going well. When there is something going wrong, where there is a pathology, that's when doctors should come in. And usually when we talk about normal birth, you see that the people tend to say, whenever you are arguing something, it's like, we've got the knowledge. We are the ones who know how to hold that space. We are the ones who know what we need to provide women for them to have a safe birth. But however, we get to hear this as, I'm the doctor. I'm the one who, I'm the doctor, yes, I know, and that's why you shouldn't be here, let's say. So I think we need to speak up. And I think we need to, when I was working in the hospitals, it was really, really hard. And I can see what Leila was saying, that they have very little training, and they are silent, and they have no voice. It was the same with me. But you know what drives you. You know you look after women, and you are on the side of the woman, not on the side of the hospital, of the health provider. You are on her side, and that's what you have to think. So whenever somebody tries to tell you to do something wrong, let's say, is your moment to say no, because you know that's not the right thing. And obviously it will be difficult at the beginning, and then you will be the one who, that we have to be careful with her, but you know you're right. I remember once I left the hospital where I was working first in Spain, when all the doctors came into the room, one after another. I think it was 8 of them. And of course, the poor woman was scared what's happening. And I said, with you and your baby, nothing. This is for me. And that was it, because I usually stood up in front of them and said, no, this is, so they decided to come, just the whole team, so they would silence me. That was my last day. I handed in my resignation after that, because that couldn't be. But you have to stay strong. You have to say, okay, this is, if you know what you're doing is good, then go ahead and do it, because when you go back home, if you haven't done it, you're going to feel much worse, that you should have helped that woman and you didn't, that you shouldn't have done, I don't know, that episiotomy that the doctor urged you to do and you did it. Yes, in that moment, you're going to be quite scared and quite frightened that you're telling someone, hey, I'm doing this, or I'm in charge of what is happening here. But I think it's really, really important that we speak up. For me, the times that I felt worse have been the times when I didn't, when I just put my head down and did as I was ordered. Obviously, I mean, I can see there's a lot of experience here. The more experienced you are, the more you are going to be able to do something like this. And if you arrive working in a place, the first thing you're not going to do is just like everybody to hate you and not like you because you're the one who causes trouble. But you have to have things very, very clear. There was, when I was here in the UK this last time, about 3 years ago, there was a woman who wanted to have a breech delivery. It was her 4th baby. And when they asked me if I could go and look after her, I'm specialized in vaginal breech, and yep, I went there to look after her. And when I arrived there, already 2 doctors had gone in, tried to convince her to have a cesarean section, and there was a 3rd doctor now trying to convince to try and turn the baby to see. And the woman had already said no several times. And it was like, what are you trying to do? I mean, are you just going to carry on until she finally says, agrees to what you want? So in that moment, I closed the door. I told them, keep away. I looked after this woman, and when she started to push, I helped her into all fours, and then I rang the bell because the rest of the people had to come here. So when the doctors came, it was very scary, let's say, because obviously they were saying, oh, I'm not comfortable like this. This woman is not in a position that I feel comfortable with. And I kept saying, I am doing this. I know what I'm doing. Just whenever they try to touch something, is hands off, you don't touch this. Then when the baby was starting to come out, there was something that I needed to do. I needed to turn the baby because the baby was just not facing the right way. And the doctor kept asking me, can I take over? How long are you going to stay? And I mean, finally, I just stayed strong. The baby was born, and everybody was happy. Everybody left. Like 2 minutes after, I left the woman with another midwife, and I went there and lie on the floor, just like, this. But it is extremely important to, you know, you're doing it right. And that's what we need to do. We need to fight for these women. We need to help them achieve what they want. And as I said, we are the specialist. I mean, if you are going to have I don't know, if you want to have a house, you would go to an architect. And if you want to build something, you would go to an engineer. So if you want to have a baby, and if you go to a midwife, it's like nobody goes to a doctor when they're healthy. And this is how we have to make our voice valid and our voice heard. I want to read you a story that is, just tell me if, I mean, I'm just going to change the screen, and just let me know if you still see me or hear me. I guess so, but yes, you can just do with your head, and I'm happy to. Yeah, okay, so you can hear me and see me. So this story, it's by an Argentinian author that is called Jorge Bucay, and it's called The Tale of the Butterfly. My mom was the daughter of a peasant couple from Entre Rios. She was born and raised in the field among animals, birds, and flowers. She told us that one morning, as she was walking through the forest picking up fallen branches to light the furnace fire, she saw a warm cocoon hanging from a broken stem. She thought it would be safer for the poor larva to take him home and adopt him in her care. When she arrived, she put it under a lamp so that it gave heat and put it close to a window so that the air was not lacking. During the following hours, my mother stayed by her protégé, waiting for the great moment. After a long wait, which did not end until the next morning, the young girl saw the cocoon tear and a small hairy leg appear from within. Everything was magical, and my mom told us that she had the feeling of witnessing a miracle. But suddenly, the miracle seemed to become a tragedy. The little butterfly seemed not to have enough force to break the tissue of its capsule, no matter how hard he tried. He couldn't get out through the small hole in his ephemeral house. My mother could not stay without doing anything. She ran to the top room and returned with a pair of delicate tweezers and a long, thin, sharp scissor that my grandmother used in embroidery. Taking great care not to touch the insect, she cut a window in the cocoon to allow the butterfly to emerge from its confinement. After a few minutes of anguish, the poor butterfly managed to leave his prison behind and stumbled towards the light from the window. My mother tells that, full of emotion, she opened the window to say goodbye to the new arrival on his first flight. However, the butterfly did not fly away, even when the tip of the tweezers gently brushed against it. She thought he was scared by her presence and left him by the open window, certain that she would not find him when she returned. After playing all afternoon, my mom returned to her room and found by the window her motionless butterfly, the wings stuck to his body, the stiff legs towards the ceiling. My mother always told us how anxious she was to take the insect to her father, to tell him everything that had happened and to ask him what else he should have done to help him better. My grandfather, who seemed to be one of those almost illiterate sages who walk the world, stroked her head and told her that there was nothing else she should have done. Then in reality, the good help would have been to do less and not more. Butterflies need that terrible effort that breaking their prison means to live. Because during those moments, explained my grandfather, her heart beats with great force and the pressure that is generated in its primitive circulatory trees injects the blood into the wings. I've lost it. Okay. Which does expand and enable it to fly. The butterfly that was helped out of its shell was never able to spread its wings because my man had not let him fight for his life. My mother always told us that many times she would have liked to ease our way, but she remembered her butterfly and preferred to let us inject our wings with the strength of our own heart. So, as I'm sure you can understand why I've chosen this story to share with you, because that's it. We midwives are the grandfather, are the one who we don't save people from anywhere. We just wait and let them do what nature is intending. We support them, we help them, but we don't do things for them. We don't save them. We don't think we are more than they, and without our intervention, that's not going to happen. And I think birth is so medicalized now that there's many of us who are like the mother of the author, who just try and save women and babies from what is happening. It's quite patronizing doing things this way, just believing that women are not going to be able to do these things if we don't help them. And I don't know if I can share this story, so they will, I don't know, Agustin, will there be like a folder or something where we can add things, or is just going to be?
Yes, if you send me the link, I will
Okay.
include it in the show notes.
Okay.
The link to where we could read this online, not the whole poem, but where it is.
Okay, I don't know because it was translated, but I'll see if I
We'll
can.
Message.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Fantastic. Very good. And another thing I wanted to tell you, when I first started working at the university, I'm not a doctor. I don't have a PhD. I don't have a master's. I'm just a midwife. With a lot of experience, but like my studies, I've just got a degree in midwifery. And when I started working at the university, I joined this course with a lot of people from also other lecturers to learn how to teach, let's say. So it was full of professors and people with doctorates, and after 4 or 5 days together, we were going to have lunch together. And I was so happy to be able to share time with them. And as I said to you, there's like, I really want my time to go so I can listen to the others. Obviously, you learn much more by listening than when you talk. You don't learn anything, but when you listen. So I was so excited to listen to these people and to pick the brains and see. So we sat, and one of them asked me, I had something about women, listen to women, and somebody asked me, what does that mean? And I started talking about midwifery, why we should listen to women, and then I didn't have lunch. It was one question after another. They kept asking me questions. They were completely amazed by birth, by what happens. I was talking to them about hormones, about what happens in the mother and the baby's brain when they're born. And this was so enlightening for me, when I was actually looking forward to this meeting these people, and they just, I didn't hear anyone talking. I really wanted to. It was just, they kept asking questions and more questions and more questions. And I think that's one of the things that we should never forget. As midwives, we do have so much knowledge, and this knowledge is so fantastic that we should share it with everyone. And I think this is me. I don't know if we answer any questions or if people have.
It's so great. You are such a dream. Everyone is just shouting your praises. We've heard
thank you.
Lots of Shireen has said, you are my Shiro. And
wow.
Morgan has said, good job, very good webinar, and awesome and incredible and so beautiful, and wow, and thank you. And that was just lovely. Thank you so
Fantastic.
much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we're so honored to have you in this circle, and to just hear your wisdom. What you're creating in the world is just exceptional.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I was so looking forward to meeting all of you and to be here like last night. Well, finally it's tomorrow. So I'm really happy. And now I'm really looking forward, as I said, to hang up, switch off my microphone, and keep listening to you. Thank you, Augustine. Okay. Thank you, Leila, for this amazing webinar that you've put together. I'm really happy.
Thank you for starting us off on such a beautiful note.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you for your nice presentation. It was so much helping for other midwives to feel more passion about what they are feeling, and they get more heart touching with your work. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you too.